This was just after the kind of Iron Man and Hulk and Iron Man 2, and they were starting the MCU up. Around about the time they were getting acquired by Disney, but this is obviously set up before that because it was like it was Japanese directors doing the Marvel stuff, and they were released over a certain period. So it feels like we're in the last gasp of like Marvel being weird before they started dealing with Disney and the Disney deal and things. So it's 4 animated shows, all basically like 12 episodes each, all about 20 minutes long each episode, and 4 different MCU characters. So you have Iron Man, you have Blade, you have the X-Men, and you have Wolverine. So you have Wolverine through all of them. He's the central character through. He cameos in Blade and Iron Man, but he also has he's obviously in his own series and the X-Men. Now the X-Men one, he's played by a different actor, voice acting it, and he's much more like the traditional Wolverine from the comics. And the other ones, he's played by Milo Ventager, can't remember his name, and he's much more of a moody kind of teen Wolverine. It's very much like they're trying to do a young Hugh Jackman rather than Wolverine. And they're just trying to make it much more like the movie, but slightly different and very much Japanese influenced, and trying to make him like a Japanese character. Which, if you just take it as a stylization for these 3 things only, it's fine. But if you think of the actual Wolverine character, it is annoying. But it's just a stylization. It's a one-off, so who cares? They never went back to it. And they went back to more Wolverine being Wolverine. So, this is more enjoyable than I expected. I bought these ages ago and I never bothered watching them. But because I was down with a bug, I just started watching them. So, the worst one is the Iron Man. That's easily the worst one. Which is weird because the Japanese love the iron suits and all the technology. But it feels like they're uninspired by this. It feels like either the limitations or they just was like, I can't see much here. Because Iron Man, even though he's got all these technologies, he's basically a superhero with this technology. There's not much weirdness beyond that. He's a technology guy trying to do good. But it just feels a very uninspired thing, influenced by the films and influenced by him. The guy who set him on the right path, it turns out he'd survived the cave and blah blah blah, and now he's evil and has been defeated, and there's people in government who are also trying to use Tony Stark and Japanese government to create a revolution on their own. It's all very basic stuff. It's like, why have you spotted who the villains are? Type of thing. Like in the movies, Tony Stark's maybe smart. And this one, he's an idiot. He can't spot anything. Every so often you get a weird bit of Japanese anime, but it's almost like it's been petered down to about a few things every so often, and the rest of the time it's going to be a very basic, safe type of story. And they haven't figured out a way to get beyond this story to do some crazy stuff. So the show is kind of basic. It's not that interesting. So it's the worst. It's hard to talk about because it's so lifeless. They have action scenes and they have various things going on, but it's like, don't care. It just is the weakest one. There's nothing there that's really recommended beyond. If you like Iron Man, you might enjoy some bits. The tech stuff's nice. It's well drawn, but there's nothing in the plot that really works. So that's the one to ignore. It was the last one I watched, and I'm glad it was the last one because that was the first one I wouldn't have got very far. Like I finished it out of completionist's sake, not enthusiasm. Right, so now to the good ones. The X-Men, you feel that they really like the X-Men. It takes place after the Dark Phoenix saga and the X-Men storyline from the comics. It takes place in Japan. It's them investigating something in Japan. Everyone's recovering after Dark Phoenix. Cyclops is trying to get his head together after his love has died. Wolverine is pushing him. Storm's there to try and bring the X-Men back together. The Beast is trying to work out the mystery of whatever's going on. Charles Xavier is still kind of rebounding as well. So they're set in Japan to investigate someone who's missing, a girl who's missing. And into that time, they run into Emma Frost, who's another mutant, who's somebody's a villain, and they think she's involved with what happened in Dark Phoenix Saga, but turns out she's not. She's been set up, and it's the whole idea is it's letting these people learn to be a team again and dealing with this sort of conspiracy plot that you can know where it's going, but it's well told and it sets up a lot of conflicts throughout the story that are enjoyable, very X-Men-ish. It's very much the closer you get to the comics in this one, and the characters are enjoyable and the setup's fun. There's lots of nice action scenes, very X-Men action scenes, and it's just enjoyable. It's just one of those things where you can sense that the people behind it liked the story. It gave them scope every so often to go and do crazy anime stuff, but they didn't have to do it all the time. They liked the kind of constraint of the American style of animation in certain areas and then expand into others. You had a Japanese character who becomes one of the X-Men, and she's enjoyable. She's a kid, but she's an enjoyable character. Just everything kind of works in this one. It just really just... One of those things is, the story is a basic X-Men story of finding a long-lost relative. That's as far as I'll go. And how dangerous mutation can be if it's not controlled. But there's lots of enjoyable things going on. There's lots of weird psychedelic things towards the end, which really works. And it's like that's when the animators are allowed to go crazy. But even early on, there's lots of fun sequences, so it's one I could easily rewatch. It's very enjoyable. Now we have the Wolverine one, which has the more emo Wolverine as the centre. But despite that, it still works because the story's basically a revenge tale, or a tale of vengeance against a guy. He's trying to... Wolverine's girlfriend has disappeared. He's told she's a certain place in Japan. He goes to find her. He's defeated by her father, who's going to marry her off to some criminal. The father wants Wolverine dead and sends some super villains to kill him. Wolverine protects himself from this, meets up with this other woman who's also got revenge in her mind against these characters, and they end up going to this island in Japan, which is the criminal island, and they basically have to get to the top of the island where the marriage is going to take place to stop it and to stop these guys. And it's a very simple story. A lot of the characters you see in this one were in the Wolverine film from 2011, 2012 with Hugh Jackman, but they're very different in this story. It's basically enjoyable pulp. You have to save this woman from her father and his crazy plans. You have to defeat all these villains, and you have to go through hell to do it. And that's it. That's all it is, and it's really enjoyable for it. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it's about, and it just works. I mean, it's a one that probably maybe not as loyal to what you'd expect from a Wolverine story, but it works on its own for what it is, and it's like a nice little alternative version of a Wolverine story. Some of the action's very enjoyable. The setup's always like you want to know what's going to happen next because you know there's going to be something else coming. There's a villain in this one who comes into Blade as well, who's a expert swordsman, and who has a lot of skills, and he wants to fight Wolverine, but he will only fight him when Wolverine's at his peak, because otherwise it's not a fair fight. You've characters like that work in really well, so it's a lot of fun, really a lot of fun. I'm trying not to go into too much detail because I know these things haven't watched much. I'm trying to say, just go watch them. If you like this kind of thing, go watch them, they're fun. Finally, we have Blade, which is probably my favourite of them, really. It was the first one I watched, and it is kind of flawed in the sense of it's very obvious in its storytelling, but it just works because it's the weirdest one, because because Blade's a supernatural kind of character. He's getting vampires who can mutate into weird creatures, because Japanese vampires are more unconventional than Western vampires. So you're Blade up against creatures he's never expected to see, and up against mythology he never expected to deal with. But it just works. It just really works, because it's like this stoic character versus insanity, and he's just going to keep going and keep going until he kills the guy he's going to kill. So the Blade is very Blade, and he's very much the way Wesley Snipes played him in the films, but he's also dealing with a lot crazier creatures. And you also get a city of vampires at the end, which has to be defeated, which is very enjoyable. There's just lots of mythology, lots of fun stuff. Every episode, sort of for Wolverine, where there's a story beats through episode to episode, where you have one story here, and it all builds up to the end, and it all kind of works for what it is. So yeah, I mean, Blade is really enjoyable, very bloody, and there's lots and lots of crazy vampires, and it just delivers what you'd want if you say, okay, give Blade to a bunch of crazy anime directors, let's see what they can do. That's what you get. It works. Same thing with Wolverine. Give Wolverine to these crazy anime directors and let them do a revenge tale. It works. And with X-Men, it's like, just do more conventional X-Men, but do some crazy stuff at the side. It works. Just Iron Man doesn't work, because it's like they can't find a way to make him interesting. It's like it's almost like contractual obligation. Like yeah, a sense of, I think they've done Hulk rather than Iron Man, they'd put him a lot happier, because they could have done some crazy stuff with Hulk. They had Iron Man, and it was like, he's not as good as the others. So yeah, so 3 out of 4 is not bad, and I really enjoy. None of them are amazing, but they're all enjoyably silly and imaginative once they get going. You have to go through the awkwardness of, it's from one culture's stories moving into another culture, and sometimes there's weirdness involved. You have to get beyond that, and once you're beyond that, they're really enjoyable. Except for Iron Man. Iron Man shit. What can you do? So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it gets your interest, and I'll see you later. Bye.